Logo for QIC-AG, the National Quality Improvement Center for Adoption and Guardianship Support and Preservation, followed by the logo for Spalding for Children. Various video clips of children and families interacting with each other and within training settings.
Children from hard places need parents who feel equipped to help them heal and grow no matter what. That takes preparation, education, support, and the services families need when they need them. In partnership with 8 sites, the National Quality Improvement Center for Adoption and Guardianship Support and Preservation tested promising practices and evidence-based models of support and intervention along a continuum. 8 interventions in 5 intervals, each focusing on a different level of risk. Together, the intervals represent the needs a family may encounter along the lifelong journey of adoption or guardianship.
A flowchart representing the permanency continuum framework. The chart begins with pre-permanence divided into 3 intervals: stage setting, preparation, and focus services. Next is finalization. The chart continues with post-permanence divided into 5 intervals: universal, selective, indicated, intensive services, and maintenance. The 3 intervals of universal, selective, and indicated are further labeled as prevention.
Wisconsin focused its intervention on indicated prevention. Introducing AGES, Adoption and Guardianship Enhanced Support. This is Wisconsin, America's dairyland, where adoptive and guardianship families throughout the state's Northeast region are discovering the healing power of support.
In Wisconsin, the team developed a new intervention that's called AGES, Adoption and Guardianship Enhanced Support.
Nancy Rolock, Co-Principal Investigator, QIC-AG.
And the idea behind AGES is to provide support, whatever is needed, to families who are reaching out for help.
We do have a relatively robust post-adoption resource center and trainings that are available to families post-permanency.
Danielle Carnop, Co-Site Implementation Manager, QIC-AG, Wisconsin.
But what we found families in Wisconsin were really missing and searching for was an actual person assigned to them to do kind of just what it says, enhanced support.
Our AGES workers serve as that support system.
Allison Budzinski, Co-Site Implementation Manager, QIC-AG, Wisconsin.
That meets with the families in their homes or in the community to help them maybe find a service or navigate the complex system of services. So support was the main focus of the S in AGES.
AGES is delivered in 5 phases: support initiation, assessment, support planning, support delivery, and case closure.
In Wisconsin, this is offered at the indicated level.
Indicated prevention efforts target families who request assistance to address an issue that has arisen after permanence has been achieved, but before the family is in crisis.
So these are families that are saying, something's going on and I think I need some help.
The scene changes to a family's home.
Around the time that the AGES pilot was launched in northeastern Wisconsin, trouble was brewing for one family in Sheboygan.
We got a call to have Joel come live with us. He was a family member. And 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. So I have a son that's 16 months younger than Joel is. We thought life was going to be great.
Lisa Lundy, adoptive parent.
Now I have 3 kids. I've got 2 boys that are close in age. They can entertain themselves and get along and do things together, which went fine for many years. When Joel hit puberty in middle school, things started going downhill a little bit, and he started making bad choices.
Things got worse. At 14, Joel attempted suicide.
Obviously, I was distraught about that. I didn't think that would ever happen. I didn't think he would have depression or try to commit suicide. Never thought any of my kids would do that. He's happy. He seems happy, but he doesn't know how to control his feelings when something doesn't go his way.
Meanwhile, in Appleton, another family formed by adoption was also struggling.
I have Ruby, who is now 16. I adopted her from Mongolia when she was 2. And Matthew I adopted when he was 1.
Lisa Esser, adoptive parent.
He is now 11. So they're both from the same area in Mongolia, Ulaanbaatar. I just always wanted to be a mom. and wasn't finding Mr. Wonderful, so that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want life to just be about me, so I knew that I wanted to open my home. With Ruby, her birth mom was homeless, so she wrote a beautiful letter to Ruby, and she was left in a safe train compartment and found by a policeman with the note on her.
Quotes from the letter: "I am leaving my daughter in the train due to my hopeless living circumstances. Your mother will pray for you every moment."
Matthew had a much rougher start. He was found out in the cold, was hypothermic when he was found, tested positive for syphilis. But I've felt from day one with him that his brain was stuck in fight and flight, almost a post-traumatic stress disorder. So life changed quite a bit when I got him, because Ruby, I felt like, had that attachment from her birth mom. Matthew did not.
Matthew was just 2 years old when Lisa started searching for a diagnosis to explain his challenging behavior.
They really were just saying he has oppositional defiant disorder, and I knew that wasn't the case, not at that age.
By 4th grade, Matthew's anger had escalated. There were police calls and hospitalizations. Lisa needed help. Joel's family needed help too.
A big mission that really drove all of this is that when an adoption takes place or permanency is achieved through guardianship, a lot of that support is somehow lost.
The day we brought him home from the adoption, all of a sudden, boom, he's yours. There was no support at all.
We've, heard from parents before that, well, yes, I have, supports. My mom, my dad are helping me here, but they just don't get it.
So we just wanted to be that support to those families a year, 5 years, 10 years later, when that formal system might not be surrounding the family.
Following the suicide attempt, Joel was hospitalized at a regional behavioral health center for 8 days.
A plaque for Rogers Memorial Hospital.
On the 4th day he was there, I get a letter in the mail, and I open it up, and it's from the Post-Adoption Resource Center about this AGES program. And I thought that Rogers called them up and said, hey, this family needs your help. So I call, and I go through the screening process.
Phase 1 is support initiation, the screening process that takes place when a family first reaches out for help.
We got in, and Lisa came out, pretty quickly after that.
Adoptive parent Lisa Lundy opens her front door for Lisa Tuzo, an AGES social worker.
How are you doing? Good. How was vacation?
Oh, it was awesome.
Oh, that's good. How's Joel been doing?
He does what he wants to do.
The next phase is assessment. In this phase, the AGES worker spends time with the family to learn about their strengths, challenges, and needs.
Lisa Lundy and Lisa Tuzo are sitting in a living room in discussion.
You have to be willing to listen.
Lisa Tuzo, AGES social worker.
You have to be willing to let them tell you their story. And they have to be able to define what they need.
So he does have Asperger's.
We have 6 assessments that we do with the family, and we were concerned how families would react to that. Would that be too much? Was that too intrusive? This is a completely voluntary program.
A list of AGES 6 assessment tools: Child and Adolescent Needs and Strengths, acronym CANS; Family Adaptation and Cohesion Skills, acronym FACES 3; Behavior Problem Index, acronym BPI; Belonging and Emotional Security Tool, or BEST; Duke UNC Functional Social Support Questionnaire, acronym FSSQ; and Caregiver Strain Questions.
So, the QIC-AG team queried their stakeholders directly. Are we asking too many questions? The response they got left no doubt.
We want you to ask these questions because they haven't been asked to us, and the questions themselves acknowledge that we're not alone and that this is normal.
Well, and we knew how smart he was. Yes.
But the social skills.
Yes, that's where he lacks.
Yes.
I reassure them.
It was nice having you come here, and
I help them realize that what they have going on can be managed.
And without you telling me, wow, if he gets diagnosed with that, there's a lot of things I can do for you. If I wouldn't have heard that from you and then got that diagnosis, Last Friday, I would have been just in tears, like, oh my gosh.
The next two phases are support planning and support delivery. During these steps, the worker and family prioritize goals for the child and start working on those goals through targeted activities. Assessment is ongoing.
I brought some brochures along for you, just to...
A lot of our families don't have the supports that are necessary. A lot of times they're afraid to ask for help. The AGES workers are really good at supporting the families.
Lisa Tuzo, the AGES social worker, is showing Lisa Lundy, the adoptive parent, brochures, and they are discussing.
Okay.
Yes, yes, because part of what it is we know that he does better because of your guidance.
Right.
And your support.
The scene changes to a coffee shop.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Meanwhile, in Appleton, Lisa Esser is meeting with her AGES worker at their usual spot, a coffee shop in Lisa's neighborhood.
I was in a survival mode at home and I needed something to start changing for my daughter's sake and for my sake and for Matthew's sake. So I called around, and then by chance I was talking to somebody who happened to mention there was a pilot program that was happening in the northeastern part of the state.
A map of Wisconsin divided into regional sections. The northeastern portion is highlighted and the logo for QIC-AG appears.
So then I called and was able to get connected and was, I think, their second family that they took. I felt like they knew where I was coming from by what questions they were asking. They understood about adoption and the different challenges you can face. You know, for the longest time, I think I kind of felt like, well, I adopted, I made this path, you know, I can't complain. But these children, they have needs that are not similar to a biological child. And that's where I feel like AGES is really important.
Making sure they don't feel isolated and normalizing that these struggles happen to a lot of people and that there's support there for them, and we want them to have access to it.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you about. Did you talk to...
Lisa's AGES worker is someone she can talk to, someone who checks in with her, someone who can answer the question, where can I find help?
To come with me to the school meetings, because sometimes I just need somebody to ask that tough question for me and to have somebody there for me, to have my back.
You know, being a single parent, you have a lot on your shoulders. So reaching out when you need to.
That's what she's been, my support.
And I appreciate that you come close and understand that I can't have it in my home.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't warm up to people very easily.
The harder part is I wish I had had this person in my life when Matthew was 2, when the problem started.
Well, I'm glad that we can be here now and we can kind of help support you, and so you're not feeling alone.
The scene changes back to Lisa Lundy's home in Sheboygan.
Come on up, Lisa's here.
Hi, Joel. Hi. I heard you got a couple great awards.
I did?
Yes. Presidential award?
The other thing I think I do is really helping them realize that in the midst of all those challenges, their children are so unique and interesting and have so much to offer. Because when you're doing that every day and you're feeling burdened and you're not sure what to do, it's difficult to see that.
The AGES worker and Joel's family put a number of services into place for him, including equine therapy to help him share feelings, and a social group for boys his age.
Yeah, and then on Thursday he starts a social skills group with other kids.
Oh, that'll be good.
With other boys.
You know, so give that group a chance also. Because there's a lot to like about you.
Lisa Tuzo, Lisa Lundy, and Joel are sitting at the kitchen table discussing a graphic organizer.
Learn your feelings, but also learning if you look at somebody else, like another boy in the group.
The families I work with are the toughest on themselves. And so I want to help her feel comfortable with the plan, that she feels solid with what's occurring for her son. And then it's really just watching how he does and if he makes some progress in the areas at least that he's struggling.
Joel hangs the graphic organizer on the refrigerator.
The final phase is case closure, when the family is ready, usually 6 months to a year from support initiation.
I know she jokes and would like to have me around forever.
Oh, yeah, she can come live with us.
My hope is that through what I bring from experience, that they will then realize that they can do this without me in their life. And if they ever need to reach out, they can always reach out again.
Lisa and Joel wave from the front of their house.
But for the most part, they know where to look to get what they need for their child.
The scene changes back to a cafe in Appleton. Lisa Esser and her 2 children stand at the counter.
A year ago, you would have been talking to me, I would have been crying a lot when I told my story. Now I don't cry as much. I don't feel quite as overwhelmed.
The idea is to get in there before the crisis happens. You know, before we have a family that's at wit's end.
There is a lot to learn about parenting, and it's not for the weak. I will say that much.
Various happy photos of both families appear. A production of the National Quality Improvement Center for Adoption and Guardianship Support and Preservation at Spalding for Children. A service of the Children's Bureau, U.S. Administration for Children and Families. Funded through the Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, Children's Bureau, Grant number 90, C as in Charlie, O as in Oscar, 1122. The contents of this document do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of the funders, nor does mention of trade names, commercial products, or organizations imply endorsement by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.